Want to get into our next guest. He is Dr. Dave Dulio, professor and chair of the Political Science Department at OU, Oakland University's Center for Civic Engagement. Kind of pick his brains on, I guess, if you want to call it rhetoric, if you want to call it words, you describe it any way you wish. Elizabeth Warren coming out and saying, time to use the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office. Joining us right now from Oakland University, Dr. Dave Dulio. First of all, Dr. Dulio, really appreciate the time this morning on 760 WJR. How are you, sir?
Good, Sean. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Let's start right there. Elizabeth Warren, time to use the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office. Is there any meat to this, or is this kind of the political rhetoric that I guess we've grown accustomed to in today's society?
Well, Sean, I think this is another example of some political bluster that's coming out of Washington, D.C. And if we look at how this would actually work and the true process in the 25th Amendment, it really has very little, if any, chance of happening.
It's amazing. When did this start? Dr. Dulio, I'm not trying to sound naive. I'm sure it's always been there, but correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't it seem like in the last few years, this rhetoric, blowhard, whatever word you want to attach to us, this has kind of gone next level? Is that a fair assessment from somebody of your stature that studies this on a daily basis?
Well, I think it's hard to look at some of the political back and forth, if you will, on Capitol Hill or even here closer to home in Michigan and not feel like it has ratcheted up in recent years. But I would caution your listeners to think about history, and this is not the only time in our country's history that we've been so polarized, or there's been some bad blood between the two major parties.
No. It's interesting because Dr. Dave, I'm in my 40s and I don't remember the Vietnam era. Sorry, I was too young then. But in my time, it just seems to me like there is a greater divide, and when the divide, as it gets wider, it seems to me that there is more grandstanding. In your lifetime or in your studies, is there something comparable to this era that we're in right now? Because let's not mince words here. There is a giant canyon between two sides of the aisle and, quite frankly, two sides of the country.
Yeah, Sean, you're right about that. I think that it's, we've got certainly the wake of the 2016 presidential election has ratcheted things up. More recently, I guess, if we're thinking about the last week or so, we've got the Supreme Court confirmation hearings for Judge Kavanaugh that are going on. Those are always pretty rancorous, at least since about the mid 1980s.
Sure.
And really, if we go back to some confirmation battles then with Judge Robert Bork, who didn't get on the court, and even Clarence Thomas, who did, the same kinds of political maneuvering, whether you want to call that grandstanding or not, but certainly both sides acting in their own self-interest to accomplish their own political goals. That was happening back then as well.
It's interesting. Dr. Dave Dulio, professor and chair of Political Science Department at Oakland University, Center for Civic Engagement, joins us. It's often said that things are cyclical. Is this, in your studies, I guess in your area of expertise, is this a cyclical thing, or are we going to come back the other way, more a return to normalcy, I guess, as we knew it?
Well, some might call me naive, but I think that the system that was put in place by the framers, the founding fathers, is strong enough to withhold or stand up against any kind of rancor, any kind of polarization. As I said before, we've seen levels of polarization this high in the past, and the system has stood the test of time. I think we just give it, I think you say it right. It's cyclical, right? It's a phase that we're in. And I think I have a great deal of confidence that we'll come out of it.
Great stuff. Dr. Dulio, really appreciate your time. He is Dr. Dave Dulio, professor and chair of the Political Science Department at Oakland University Center for Civic Engagement. Always want to make sure that we're on top of things, and guys like Dr. Dave Dulio help us do just that. Have yourself a great weekend. Appreciate your time here on 760 WJR.
Anytime. My pleasure, Sean.
All right, Dr. Dave Dulio. Yeah, it's interesting. It's for people